Every ancient alphabet, bar none, has always from day one with each letter had a mysterious number associated with the letter. The study of that code is called gematria, atomic mass of the elements. The numbers of the atomic mass are the numbers that equate to the mysterious letters in the ancient alphabets. What that means is when you look at human DNA or the DNA of any life, the numbers that equate to those become 1, 5, 6, and 3. Literally reads, literal. God eternal within the body. God eternal within the body. It is in Hebrew and Aramaic and Sanskrit, 3 of the root languages. If there's an intentionality underlying life itself and human life specifically, it would make tremendous sense to me that who or whatever is responsible would somehow have left a sign. Why place that signature into something that can crumble over a few thousand years, like a temple wall, or into the pages of a book that can be destroyed? Why not put it in the creation?
Welcome back to another episode of Quantum Alchemists. I am Mr. Alchemistic, but you can call me B. And I am joined as always by my co-host, Mr. Romero Vengian himself, and Mr. Quantum, Alex Romero.
What's up, everybody? What's up, B? How are you doing today, my man?
Much better than yesterday, man. Hell of a little connectivity issues. We tried to do this last night, but there's a problem with my 5G here in Georgia. Had to reboot the old Wi-Fi booster for the upstairs area, and it's much clearer now. So a little frustrated.
You definitely look in much better spirits today. You looked frustrated yesterday. Like you just wanted to break it.
Dude, all day yesterday, man, I was trying to connect my laptop because I had a commercial out for my website, Alchemystic Apparel, where you can find this shirt, Lulu the clown. Had a commercial out, so I'm trying to access my website and my laptop's not connecting, and I had no problems up until yesterday. I just could not connect, and it was just frustrating me. And then we tried to record, and it was just like, it was pulling my black hair out. Pulling the last few hairs in my head out.
Well, just mind you, everyone, he is getting slammed by a hurricane on the backside of his house right now. So I don't even know. How is that situation going, by the way? Are you affected by the hurricane at all? Like, what's going on with
Not
that?
This one. We got the brunt of the last one. Like it came right through the eye of the storm after it had gone through Florida. Helene, which you guys have seen on the news right now, it's caused massive destruction in North Carolina and Tennessee. The eye of the storm literally came right through Lawrenceville, where I'm at. And we actually came out of it fine, which we've been talking about it since it happened. It kind of felt like a Forrest Gump situation where you guys remember in Forrest Gump, there's a huge hurricane. Dan's on the bow of the shore on the
Is that all you got?
He's on the crow's nest of the ship saying, "That's all you got? You call this a storm?" And then after the storm is over, you see the destruction in Mississippi, where like every shrimping boat's destroyed, but Forrest Gump. So is just a pristine his little boat comes floating into the scene, and it's just perfect. It's the only one left. And then obviously he, with Bubba Gump Shrimp, became a billionaire. But that's what it felt like, man, because like literally to the south of us in Florida was a lot of destruction from Helene, and then to the north of us was massive, massive destruction, which I don't think they were really prepared for. And here in Georgia, where I'm at, nothing. It was like we were untouched. And I like to think it was my little protection amulet here, my little key of Solomon, I like to call it, alchemist amulet, which good segue into what we want to talk about today, which is alchemy.
Absolutely.
And we had a little lead-in video that I posted in the beginning of the episode here before we started of Greg Braden talking about ancient languages and numbers, gematria, and how the numbers for hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, and carbon spell out God eternal in the body. It's pretty mind-blowing. When I came across that video, I sent it to Alex, and he was like, "Holy shit." I was like, "Dude, we got to put this in this video." Because as an alchemist, this is the type of knowledge that we are seeking. We are seekers as alchemists. If you're interested in alchemy, you don't know what it is, we kind of want to dive into the topic of what alchemy really is. because we are the quantum alchemists, and maybe there's some ambiguity to the term, to what we've been trying to bring to you as far as what are we and what are we trying to do. And so Alex did a little dive into AI with the topic, and we've got a
I
little AI generated document that talks about
I,
alchemy. But before we get
I
into
did.
that, we'll go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I felt compelled to ask AI. I felt maybe that we were projecting our message wrong, and so it's like, I had someone reach out and say, "Do you even know what an alchemist is?" And I was like, "Well, I have an idea." So I fed AI my interpretation of what we're doing here, and we'll get into the results in just a moment here. But
Well, this all came about because of your buddy asking you. But what I would like to ask your buddy is, do you know what an alchemist is? Because I feel like
mm,
if you've watched this podcast, we've been pretty forthcoming with who we are, what we do, our beliefs, our spirituality, what we're trying to do with our message. We're trying to use love and alchemize negative energy into positive and give you guys information and take like some stuff that could be negative. A lot of the stuff we talk about is very daunting information about the future and about humanity and the problems we face. And what we're trying to do is take this information and present it to you, take the breadcrumbs, bake some bread, and then kind of help you guys like digest the bread, and kind of with love. Like we're trying to, with love, get you guys to become the authentic version of yourself, which is what I feel like alchemy, spiritual alchemy, at least calls us to. And what your buddy was probably asking you, do you know what an alchemist is because we haven't really talked about the mystical part of alchemy of like ancient alchemists were said to be able to transmute lead into gold, like to take a base metal and go into a cauldron and cook up turned lead into gold.
right.
And
Well, I mean, I believe that yes, you're quite possibly right with that. And while there's definitely more than one interpretation of the transmutation of things, right? So material things are energy, and immaterial things are energy. So if you're transmuting energy, whether it's material or immaterial, you're still transmuting energy, which by definition, you're kind of still an alchemist. So I don't know, maybe call me crazy.
I mean, for me, I'll give you my journey. Right? Is I've always been a seeker of knowledge. I've always looked beyond the veil, beyond the surface level of society of what we've been fed, the information we've been fed and taught, and said, "This is how the world is. Here you go, buddy." And I've sought beyond that. I've looked into the mysteries. I've looked into ancient cultures and what they believed, and a lot of it is learning the language of symbolism and sacred geometry, like my artwork. This is my new piece that I created called Spiral. It is encoded with the Fibonacci spiral, which is, the shape of our galaxy. The Milky Way galaxy is a spiral. And if you look into the Fibonacci sequence and the mathematics of the Fibonacci sequence is encoded in the structure of our bodies, for example. And the Fibonacci sequence is 113 1 1 2 3 5 8 13 21, and it goes on in infinity. It's basically the first two numbers of the Fibonacci sequence is 0 1, and then you add, and then that makes 1, and then you add 1 and 1 to make 2, and then 2 and 1 to make 3, and then 3 and 2 to make 5, and then you just add the two previous numbers together to get the next number in the sequence, and that's how the Fibonacci sequence works. And when you divide it, it comes out to the golden ratio, which is in a lot of ancient artwork, like Leonardo da Vinci, for instance, put the golden ratio in his artwork because it is the ratio of facial features. It's the ratio, and then
Of
the
existence.
ratio of the structure of your bones, birth patterns in animals,
I,
flowers.
I would actually challenge anyone out there who's not familiar with the golden ratio or the golden mean to do a Google search and just to see just how correlated this number is to everything in existence.
No, absolutely. It's literally encoded in reality. It is the structure of our Milky Way galaxy, right? So if you want to think about like what's the creator's fingerprint is the Fibonacci sequence, the spiral, the golden mean. And then that kind of correlates with the Great Braden video where he's talking about how these elements correlate with ancient letters and numbers and how
Yeah,
this
element,
all comes together. This is all
element.
ancient knowledge. This is all secret knowledge. This is all knowledge you have to delve into the minutia of stuff they don't talk about, right? This is stuff that you have to be a seeker
It'll,
to find this
yeah,
knowledge.
it'll literally make you go cross-eyed if you're not looking for it.
And this is at the heart of alchemy itself, is like in spiritual alchemy, like physical alchemy would be some guy with a cauldron trying to make lead into gold. And there's said the ancient alchemists were said to have come up with a powder that would change base metals into gold, and using, I think, mercury, salt, sulfur. So there's a lot of information. It's a lot of stuff, right? Like I have a lot of stuff here from my seeking. But the
Right.
spiritual alchemy, there's a allegory to lead to gold, right? The spiritual allegory is changing the base level human into the elevated, enlightened, evolved human. That's what it is, and it's ingrained in. And this is something we've talked about before in our episode. So I challenge your buddy to go back and actually watch our
Right.
podcast, because we literally have explained this. It was
Yeah.
just kind of frustrating to have to go back over it again to try to prove to your buddy who thinks he
No,
knows what
no,
alchemy
it's not
is.
even about that.
No,
I
no,
think it's
but
confusing for him.
like I talked about it in the episode with my board game, where I'm showing you all the different symbols that I incorporate into the board game that are
Yeah.
from all these different mystic traditions that are pointing to the exact same thing. Lead to gold is transmuting your body spiritually into the God man, if you want to call it that. And this, we
God.
talked about it with the Manly P Hall stuff. Manly P Hall talks about it. He went through in his book, Secret Teachings of the Ages, all these different cultures, all these different traditions, all these different ideologies or spiritual traditions that are all basically talking about the same thing. And then I talked about the chrism in the one episode where I'm talking about the descent of the Christ oil, which is DMT and serotonin from your pineal gland and your pituitary. It secretes it, goes down, spirals down your spine, stays in your sacrum for 3 days, down here at the bottom of your spine, and comes back up, which is the Kundalini, right? And we talked about the Kundalini, which is all the different energy centers, and it's all this stuff correlates. It's all together. And the lead to
Yeah.
gold is an allegory for this process in your body to
That's
become
it.
alchemist, to awaken the pineal gland, the third eye. I met God face to face, and my life was spared in Genesis. Jacob's ladder, which is the spine. All these ancient cultures talked about rivers, the river Nile, the river Jordan. They're talking about your spinal fluid. It's all allegory. It's all symbolism for the process in your body of elevation, of evolution, the return to Eden consciousness. It's all
Well,
it's all in this.
that's actually it's actually great that you brought that up because we've come to know that now that all this secret ancient knowledge has actually been encoded within the Bible itself. It's
Mm-hmm.
just that it's just that when you go to learn these things at your local church, depending on what sector of religion that you follow, they don't have the keys to that book, right? So you're only getting part of the message. You're only getting the face value of it. You're not getting the deeper hidden encoded knowledge that was buried within the text. Because
Solomon's key opens the door, man. Speaking of Solomon, the spiral, the Fibonacci squares are encoded within Solomon's temple and every Masonic temple. This is all secret knowledge, guys. This is all the stuff that they've hidden from us. Is with the secrets of your body, how to elevate your consciousness, the secrets that they encode within buildings like churches and temples, and
right.
it's a lot more than
And
just shapes. Sacred geometry is a lot more than just circles, triangles, and squares, ladies and
right.
gentlemen. It's
There's also
and
latitude, longitude, altitude. There's physics involved. There's
well, I mean,
actual
also
physics.
you look at the planet itself, right? We talk about the chakra system in the body. Planet itself has a chakra system as well. There's all these different sites. Mount Shasta is the root chakra, but Lake Titicaca is the sacral chakra. Um, Glastonbury in Scotland is I want to say the heart chakra. You have to look it up, but look up the Earth chakras. They're all in ley
Yeah.
lines, right? And then if you look at um, the ancient temples, all these major ancient sites like the pyramids and the pyramid of the sun. Um, I could the Baalbek, Göbekli Tepe. There's all kinds of ancient monuments and sites that are within 40 degrees of the equator, right? It's the same this line. It's a ley line on the planet, an energy center where all of the planet or all the planets, all of the ancient sites were built on this specific ley line, and it's goes throughout the whole planet. And this is all knowledge that they don't want us to know because the ancients were far more advanced and in tune with nature and in tune with the cycles of the planet, which we talked about astrology and a couple episodes ago, and the one entitled "Astrologically Inclined." There is a correlation. There is an effect that the planets have on this place, and all this knowledge that if you are a seeker, you will find it. If seek and ye shall find, knock and the door shall be opened. And so to define an alchemist, I would say the path of an alchemist is the path of Christ, true path of Christ. That Christ was able to turn water into wine. He was a master of the elements, which is elementally, this is what we're called to do as alchemists, is to become one with the elements, to merge our left and right brain, our masculine and our feminine, the alchemical wedding in the brain at the pineal gland where it meets, right? This is it. This is alchemy. So Alex's buddy, how about that, brother? Did you know all that stuff? But this is, when you're a seeker, this knowledge finds you, and you have to first take the step to seek, and then it will seek you, right? God will seek you if you show that you are willing to take the steps to go through the initiation process of showing that you are giving up your ego and your pursuit of worldly pleasure, which talking about the lead to gold stuff, right? If learning how to turn lead to gold is what draws you to alchemy, then you're not coming at it with the proper stance. Like you're not coming with the proper
It's a
heart centered.
very linear perspective.
Yeah, well, it's greed. You're greedy. You want to turn lead to gold and be rich, and that's not the proper way to approach it. If you are a true alchemist, you truly want to become your greatest self and to spiritually transform yourself. That
Well,
is
can
the
I add something
proper.
to that? Can I add
What's
something to that?
that?
Because you said turning lead into gold, right? Well, I think that you can take situations which may be crappy and turn situations around into an opportunity, which is the same metaphorical interpretation of turning lead into gold, right?
No, 100%, dude. That's the lead to gold is just an allegory. Like, can you turn lead to gold? Maybe. I don't know. That's not what drew me to this path. It wasn't like I want to be in the cauldron, like making gold, and then I'll be rich. It's like
No,
that's not what drew
no,
it to me to.
but I will tell you this, in order for me to get to this point though, what I did want to do was to stop letting all the garbage and all the negativity that the world is feeding me keep me down.
Hmm.
That that was what led me down this path. And
Hmm.
that's how I realized and I learned that I didn't have to let other people's actions towards me affect me. I stand in my own power, just like you stand in your own power, and we are independent of one another. And people are shitty. There's a lot of shitty people out there. There's a lot
Hmm.
of really great people too. It's just that I think that because we're all going through stuff right now, like we really don't know how to treat each other right now. We're all like, it's like, how do you act nice towards your neighbor when you know at home you've got a fuck ton of problems and you're basically you're what you would call not your house is not literally on fire, but like within your home you have turmoil, you've got beef with family, beef with friends, beef with your landlord, beef with your boss. Like internally you're in flames. You're burning up. And outwardly you got to present this like, oh, everything's peachy, everything is good, while everything is literally going up in flames. It's like, you have to learn how to balance the two, right? Like people are not responsible for what's happening to you in your internal home. Like everyone's got their own shit going on. You don't need to be projecting that stuff outwardly to other people. It's like we get it. Life's fucked up. We have problems too, but you got to keep it in your yard. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the path of lead, right? If we want to get to allegory and symbolism, the lead is the path of the lower chakras that I've talked about in the board game. This keeping you at those three lower chakras and cycling on the lower tree of life, the lower end of the tree of life, and that's the lead path. These are all different symbols and allegories for the same thing. Is like we have been kept on the lead path of materialism, of keeping up with the Joneses, of low
Greed.
base desires, chasing. Oh, I want to go fuck the randos and drink and like
This actually goes back to our last podcast where we talked about what Satan would do, right? If he tried to keep younger people or anyone really from achieving their greatest potential. Keep them
keeps them
focused
on
on materialistic.
keep them on the
Mhm.
lead path.
Keep them
So
on the left
that'll be
path.
that's the metaphor we'll be using for this episode. But No, it's none of, like all these things are presented to us as different things, right? You want to look at the Holy Grail, the Philosopher's Stone. It's all talking about the third eye. It's all talking about the Holy Grail
The
is your
womb.
heart. It's your heart is the third eye um, releasing those chemicals in the Christ oil into the cup, which is your heart. um the Philosopher's Stone. It's all allegory for the same thing, and that's the mystery, right? And once the mystery is solved, you see it, you understand, oh, that's how they described it, that's how this culture described it, that's how that culture described
Right.
it, but it's all talking about
Right.
basically the same thing, which is
Yep.
elevating our consciousness. It's
Yep.
evolving ourselves back to where we're at before. And this is what we talked about in the early episodes. The first couple episodes was how um, this knowledge was fractured, right? The Rumi quote about the mirror in the hands of God. The truth was a mirror in the hands of God, and it fell and broke, and everybody took a piece and thought they had the truth. And what we've been trying to do is put these pieces back together and show you that all these cultures are talking about the same thing. And in the distant past, humanity was degraded into the lead path, right? We are degraded from this level of oneness with God when He created us to be a companion and not a subject, right? That's what we were created for. God wanted to raise a companion, and
I do want to add to that that by no means we're saying that our interpretation of this is the only truth because of that very thing, which is we're just trying to help put the pieces together in the mirror, which is all the different interpretations of things you have heard, plus the things that we're speaking of right now are all parts of the truth. Like they're not lying to you, but neither are we.
yeah. Well, it's like all different pieces of the mirror, right? Like it, and when you look at it by itself, and you say this is the only truth, and your truth is evil, and you're going to hell forever if you believe in any truth but this little piece of the mirror. And it's like, no, take that piece of the mirror and put it with these pieces over here, and it all makes a lot more sense. And you were talking about it earlier, how the Bible's talking about this stuff, right? There's all kinds of allegory and symbolism, and like Psalm 23 is a perfect example, right? It's one of my favorite psalms. It's been in my heart since I was a child and read this psalm, and it was like, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I should fear no evil. You know, He lays me beside green pastures. He walks me beside still waters. He restores my soul. His rod and His staff, they comfort me. He makes a table in this presence of my enemies. My cup overflows, right? My cup overflows. David, King David, if you look at the Psalms, they're all like they they're not spells, but like it's alchemy, right? He's talking about the alchemical process. Um, and it's been hidden because like Solomon was his son, right? The wisest man that ever lived was King Solomon. Because this is a story that it stuck with me since I was a child. Was I was grew up in the Lutheran church, a Lutheran school. We didn't go to church much, but we went to Lutheran school. And the
We
the
do it.
story of Solomon always stuck with me because God found Solomon favorable, right? He knew that he was the heir to the throne of Israel. And he saw Solomon was wise for his age. And he asked Solomon, he basically gave him a genie's wish. He's like, I'll give you anything you want. What do you want? The desires of your heart, whatever you want, you can have it. And Solomon didn't ask for riches. He didn't ask for women. He didn't ask for power. He didn't. What did he ask for? He asked for wisdom.
Wisdom.
He knew that he was the heir to the throne. He wanted to be a wise king. He wanted to be a wise king, and he asked God for wisdom. And God was so pleased with him that he said, since you chose wisely, I will give you everything else as well, right? The key of Solomon. It is, and Solomon encoded this mathematics, these principles, the spiral, which is God's fingerprint, into the structure of his temple, right? That's significant. That is not insignificant. And then when the Knights Templars, who were the precursors to the Freemasons, excavated Solomon's temple during the Crusades, they found these secrets. They found these secrets of Solomon, and they encoded it in their rituals. They encoded it within their ideology that was counter to the church, which the church tried to destroy them. Right? The church had the Inquisition of the Knights of Templar and try to destroy them because the church was the preeminent power of the time. They had their Roman interpretation of the Bible, which was the subjugation. And then Martin Luther came along with his 96 Theses to try to basically fix the things that were wrong with the Catholic interpretation. But the Knights Templar went farther, and they had a mystic interpretation of it, which was also ingrained in Gnosticism and the Cathars, which were also the Catholic Church tried to destroy these sects as well, because the Catholic Church was the powerful entity, and if these truths were given out in mass to the people, they wouldn't need the church anymore because the church was the veil.
Right, they would lose their influence.
And in the story of Christ, when Christ died, there was a veil between the tabernacle and the congregation, right? The veil represented the separation of God and man, right? Because man had fallen from the grace of God, and there needed to be a tabernacle, and only the priest class could go beyond the veil into the tabernacle, right? And when Christ died, the veil in the tabernacle ripped in half, right, which signified the end of the separation of God and man. It was Christ and this is you could take it literally or you could take it figuratively, right? Christ tore that veil in half. And what the Catholic Church had done up to that point and to this day, the Romans, when they created the Bible at the Council of Nicaea, Constantine created the Bible in order to subjugate the entire Roman Empire. Right, the Roman Empire was vast, and it had all these different sects that all believed different things, and they were warring with each other, and it was a problem. So Constantine saw that problem and said, "We need one religion for the empire." So he got all these scholars together, and they put together the Bible in the Council of Nicaea, which brought together the Old Testament and the New Testament, the text of the Jews and the text of the Christians of the time, and they put this book together, and they created Roman Catholicism. Right. And what it left out was a lot of scriptures, a lot of texts that talked about the mystic interpretations. It talked about a lot of the early Christians. It was a mystic tradition. It was an oral mystic tradition. And these teachings were all lost with the consolidation of all these different ideologies. And they basically pasted these Christian figures over the Roman ideology, which is why we still have Roman holidays. Like Christmas is not, Christmas is on a Roman holiday, right? Easter is a pagan holiday. All these holidays that we celebrate as Christian holidays are actually pagan. They're pagan and they're rooted in paganism. And that's just why Easter is the Easter bunny it was a fertility holiday, right? It wasn't about Christ, it was about fertility. So this is all stuff, and we still use the Roman calendar too, to this day. And the Roman calendar is off. It's why we have to have a leap year every 4 years, is because the Roman calendar is not sufficient. And we have to have this leap year to suffice for that quarter of a day that the Roman calendar doesn't account for. And there are other calendars, such as the Mayan calendar, that are more precise. But we still use Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. This is all Roman shit. All the months are all Roman shit. You know, February was a Caesarean month, right? I think, don't quote me on this, but it was to celebrate Caesar or something. It was why it's shorter. There's just fucked up things with our calendar that have gotten us off of time, which
Yeah,
is
right.
cyclical,
They put us onto their timeline, not us being on our original timeline.
and the Catholic Church also uh, feng shuied in the Dark Ages, which is like a 500-year period where there was no recorded history. And a lot of scholars point to that and say that didn't happen. That wasn't real. We're not really in the year 2024. We're in the year 1524 or something like that.
Right, right.
So
You know, it's funny that actually I could actually add to that. Have you ever seen the calendars where it looks like maybe there's a J in front of the numbers? I don't know if you've ever seen those calendars
no, I don't
before.
think so. No.
Well, there's some calendars out there, and I'll see if I could find them. But there's some maps out there that you look, and I'm sorry, maps that have dates with a J in front of it, where that J was, I think, at some point purposely misinterpreted for a one, and added 1,000 years to our history, which allows, if you add 1,000 years to history, that means you have 1,000 years to play with, or you could create whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, there's been a lot of fuckery done in history. Like Napoleon famously said, "History is a lie agreed upon." Right, and there's a whole bunch of rabbit holes you can get into with Tartaria, and
Yeah.
I used to do a podcast called Dead Rabbit Society where we would delve into more conspiracy stuff, a lot of stuff, and I talked to this Australian researcher named Max Egan, who I think still does weekly
That name sounds
shows.
familiar. That name sounds familiar.
Maxwell Egan, yeah, he wrote a book called Earth's Forbidden Secrets, and he goes into a lot of archaeological anomalies, right? Like ancient artifacts that don't line up with human history, like the accepted history of human development, right? Where there's like these 200,000-year-old like ball bearings that are like super refined, and just ancient pottery that depicts like people riding dinosaurs and all kinds of wild shit. Right, this book is fascinating. I think it's online if you guys want to look it up. Earth's Forbidden Secrets. It's really really interesting. And I had a couple of interviews with Max, and he's a really awesome dude. And I think those episodes are still on Spotify if you guys want to check them out. Dead Rabbit Society, Maxwell Egan, or Max Egan
We'll
is.
put a description. We'll put a description below.
Yeah, we go into some pretty gnarly shit. So if you guys aren't ready to really like look at history, specifically World War II, there's some really interesting stuff about World War II that we talk about that's very taboo, to say the least. But yeah, there's all kinds of stuff in ancient
We're gonna get
history
into that.
and
We're gonna dig
timelines
into some good stuff.
and the different things that we've been taught and told and that are accepted in society. But like the Catholic Church did a whole lot of fuckery when they were in power, where they added years to the timelines, and we're still stuck in, like, in a lot of ways Rome never died, right? We're still have ancient Roman
You,
shit
you
ingrained
could
in
actually
all.
say that, and you could say that about the Dark Ages too. The Dark Ages never really ended. But please continue.
Yeah, no, we're in the Dark Ages. We're in the new Dark Ages, if to quote Bad Religion, awesome punk band. But yeah, this is the type of stuff when you're a seeker, this is the stuff you find. And you have to be open. Like your mind has to be open to accepting the fact that you've been lied to, right? Because there's a lot of things in that we've just been talking about for the last hour or 40 minutes or whatever that it's gonna blow your fucking mind. Like, what? I didn't know that. Like, yeah, of course you didn't know that because you've been fed fucking bullshit your whole life and told to accept it. And like if you go against it, then oh no, you're one of those crazy conspiracy guys. And it's like, no, you're a seeker, you're a thinker, you know that you've been bullshitted, right? And the one thing about COVID is that it snapped people out of this shit and realized, oh wait, the government's lying to us. The white coats are lying to us. All these people are lying to us. And so I think a lot of people became seekers, right? So if you are a seeker, you probably are if you found this podcast. There's all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of information that we're trying to bring to you to empower you with knowledge. And it's daunting. I'm telling you, the burden of knowledge is very daunting. I've been on this road for 20 years. Because
You said it right on the rabbit, and you've been in the rabbit hole for 20 years. You're right.
more than 20, really 23. I snapped out of it in 9/11 when I saw those towers fall, and they said it
That's
was by planes, and there's a whole lot of stuff there like that you can dive into that are just
yeah.
like holy shit.
We'll have to
If
save that
you
one for
think if
another
you think
episode.
if you think that a bunch of Arabs with box cutters fucking hijacked planes and ran them into the towers and then they just collapsed like a controlled demolition from fire, then I got some fucking
I don't know what
I
to tell
got a
people.
whole lot of stuff for you. Um, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I've
If
been on
that's your
this.
reality and you believe that, ooh boy, I'm sorry.
That's where the road started for me. So I've been on this for a while. And if you guys look, my Dead Rabbit Society podcast, I started it during COVID, because of all the lies that were being put out there. Like, there's a lot, and you can probably find a lot of those episodes on Spotify. So check it out. There's a lot of stuff that I unleashed during the COVID times.
Yeah.
And I
Who else
can't
is
tell.
doing it?
And I want to preface that by saying, like, I'm not saying that I'm the fucking harbinger of truth. Like I'm standing on a pedestal. Like everything I
No.
say is the truth. I'm just willing to look at things. I'm willing to look at things and be like, hey, what about this? That's interesting. Like that's it. Like I'm not telling you like everything I say is fucking gospel, right?
Ask
Uh, I'm just
questions, but
I'm
yeah,
just
you know what?
telling you that
Yeah.
it's beneficial to question your reality and what you've been told, and you will find a whole lot of things are not what you thought they were. We're almost out of time for this first part, but we'll be right back, and we'll keep going with this because I think we're on a good tangent here. And this is what an alchemist is, you guys. We're transmuting energy into love and giving you, empowering you with our love because we love you. So we'll be back.
You tired of these lo-fi brands that use sweatshop labor that everybody wears? You looking for a t-shirt brand that's gonna set you apart from all the normies? Well, it's time to ascend to another level of style with Alchemystic Apparel. Everyone in the fifth dimension's talking about it. Christ himself has his own shirt. He's the Lion of Judah. The devil himself wants to get in on the action, but he can't have one. You know why? Because I took his head and I put it on a shirt. I know what you're thinking. Mr. Alchemistic, I'm not a devastatingly handsome middle-aged man. I don't know if Alchemistic Apparel is for me. Don't be Delulu like Lulu. Alchemistic Apparel is for everybody. Get lucky with the four-leaf friends. Get Egyptian with Osiris. Got a bunch of haters? Pull a death card on them. Your mom is gonna love Mystic Pyramid. Heck, even dogs love Alchemistic Apparel. It's time to step out of three-dimensional clothing and step in to Alchemistic Apparel. The link is in my bio.
And we are back with part two. You guys just saw a commercial for Alchemistic Apparel, featuring this T-shirt, the Devil's Head. I took the Devil's Head and I put it on a shirt. And part one, I was wearing Lulu. If you guys like my T-shirts, the go down to Alchemistic Apparel. The link is in the description, and buy one of my geometric masterpieces. So part one, we're talking about what is an alchemist, and Alex had another really fascinating conversation with AI where he posed the question, about our work and asking AI if they would consider that alchemy. So
Absolutely. Based on some inspiration from our audience members, I asked AI if I told you I was part of a community of healers and energy workers that transmute energy for the human collective, which speak about our experiences in 3D and talking about our traumas and how we overcome them, while educating our peers that we have the free will to not perpetuate the mistreatment of one another, would you call this work alchemy? And that was a very lengthy question, but it actually understood me. It was
yeah,
very good.
it was a pretty hefty input, and
Yeah.
AI took that input and actually gave us some gold. It said, "That's a fascinating description of your community. While it doesn't involve the literal transmutation of metals, your work shares some key similarities with the philosophical underpinnings of alchemy. The first bullet point is transformation. Like alchemists who sought to transform base metals into gold, you aim to transform negative energy and trauma into something positive and healing. Second bullet point is collective well-being. Alchemy wasn't just about individual gain. It was often seen as a way to benefit society as a whole. Your focus on the human collective reflects the same desire for communal betterment. Third bullet point, spiritual growth. Alchemy emphasized spiritual purification and enlightenment. Your community's exploration of trauma, overcoming challenges, and promoting free will aligns with these themes of personal and collective growth. So could your work be considered a form of modern alchemy? It certainly embodies many of the core principles. It's about transformation, healing, and seeking a higher understanding of ourselves and our place in the world. So there you have it, Alex's friend. Yes, what we're doing is alchemy. It by definition, it is allegorically, symbolically, 100% a form of alchemy. What we're trying to do, we're trying to transform the collective, help the collective with knowledge, and give them knowledge we have found to empower them to spiritually transform themselves and join our collective of people who are looking to transform society. And the way we start to transform society, it first starts with us. If you want to change the world, change yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this kind of like led me to the following things, right? So it said ultimately whether or not you choose to label as alchemy is up to your community, which that's you guys. Now, friend, if you're part of the community, great. It is alchemy. If you're not part of the community, great. It's still alchemy, whether or not you're part of this community. Just want you to know that. What matters most is the positive impact that you're having on yourselves and others through your work. Now, I want you to understand, not just doing this because points that have been or currently are, and we have very insightful perspectives to offer. Now, while we were on our last break, this kind of led me to the following question, which was, I asked AI another thing. I'm going to skip over what is an alchemist because this entire podcast, I think we've over-explained what it is. But I want to ask you a question, B. I asked AI, can you interpret the philosophy of pouring into one's cup and their relation to alchemy?
Well, personally, this is something we've talked about as healing. Pouring into your own cup is to heal your traumas, heal the wounds in your emotional body, right? We have this physical body, but we also have a spiritual and emotional body that is tied to this body. And what we see in the 3D is not all of reality. We actually have a thinking, emotional body that is tied into this, that is feeding input into this physical body. And if we do not heal that emotional body, then there's going to be problems with the physical body. And this is something we've talked about with medicine. And there's a lot of research going into the maladies of the body that correlate with maybe childhood traumas or emotional traumas certainly inflict a lot of harm upon the physical body. If your emotional body is out of whack, your physical body is probably going to reflect it. So pouring into your own cup.
So what? Oh, go ahead. Finish up with that because I want to continue with the next part, which actually leads me into what you're talking about now. But pouring into your own cup.
So for me, pouring into my own cup is things like the art that I do, right? I talked about it last episode. This art is very healing for me. I have a lot of outside energies that are trying to inflict their shit upon my energy, and then it's internal energies from old wounds, old traumas and stuff that I've delved up through my spiritual awakening, that I've realized patterns of behavior that have come from childhood wounds or teenage wounds. There's a lot of teenage angst, right? we stuff away a lot of stuff. Especially as men, people don't give a shit about our mental health. So we're told to just suck it up, kid, and fucking keep going. That's what men do. So we stuff it away and we don't heal it. And for me, art has become a big tool for me to heal my past traumas and current traumas. It is something I pour myself into, my art, my poetry, my writing. This podcast is very healing for me as well, to be able to talk about my experiences, to be able to talk about what I am going through spiritually as I'm going through this process of awakening, of becoming my highest self, becoming my authentic self. Art is something that I use to pour into my own cup, and it could be different for everybody. You know, some people. I'm a performer as well. I like to perform as as a professional wrestler, was something I did for years, and that was something I used to pour into my own cup. So it's different for everybody. Everyone's going to have their thing,
Yeah.
you know.
Right. So I want to tell you what AI said, okay? Which, by the way, for you, just going off the cuff, that was beautifully said. It says here, the philosophy of pouring into one's cup is a powerful metaphor with intriguing connections to alchemical principles. Okay, here's how I interpret it: the cup represents the individual self, which you totally just said that. Their capacity for growth, healing, and experience. It symbolizes both our physical body and our spiritual essence. I think you said that very well. Pouring in represents the act of self-care, learning, growth, love, creativity, and connection. These are the nourishing elements we intentionally bring into our lives to enrich ourselves, okay? Now, the alchemical connections, transformation, just as alchemists sought to transform base metals into gold, pouring into one's cup is about transforming oneself, okay? The allegory. We take raw experiences, challenges, and even pain, and through conscious effort and self-reflection, we refine them into something valuable and meaningful. Okay, again, we're talking about our experiences in 3D, not because we like to hear ourselves talk, but because you're going through things in 3D or have gone through things in 3D that you maybe haven't addressed, that maybe is still a chip on your shoulder that you maybe need to look at a little closer. And then it goes to say the philosopher's stone in alchemy, the philosopher's stone was believed to hold the key to perfection and enlightenment. Pouring into one's cup can be seen as personal quest for this inner stone. By constantly seeking knowledge, healing wounds, cultivating compassion, and expanding our consciousness, we gradually build this inner treasure within ourselves. And then it goes to say the great work. Alchemy is often referred to its ultimate goal as the great work, a lifelong process of transformation and self-realization. Okay, now I'm going to skip a couple things here because it's not important to go into that level of depth, but it says here, ultimately, the philosophy of pouring into one's cup is a beautiful reminder that we are each responsible for our own transformation and well-being. It encourages us to be active participants in shaping our lives and becoming the best version of ourselves, okay? Now, one of the things that really I was left asking after I heard, and can an empty cup pour into another? And I think that's what this is going to really summarize what this episode is about, because I think what's happening is we've got a lot of people with empty cups that are just I'll get into this. It says, so I said, what does it mean when someone has an empty cup, and can an empty cup pour into another? It says that's a profound question that touches on the themes of empathy, boundaries, and self-care. An empty cup metaphorically represents someone who is depleted, exhausted, emotionally drained, or lacking in inner resources. They may be experiencing burnout, trauma, grief, neglect, emotional exhaustion. Okay. If any of this sounds familiar, guys, guess what? Your cup's probably empty. And then to the question of, can an empty cup pour into another? This is an interesting analysis. AI actually understood if you try to pour from an empty cup into another cup, which if you're already all those things I just listed, guess what happens, guys? It only leads to further depletion, ineffective support, enabling unhealthy patterns. Okay. I don't need to go into the descriptions of what those things are. You guys all should know what those means, but the importance of filling your own cup first. Okay. For all of you helpfuls out there, I'm just trying to help, but you're actually fucking shit up, right? The importance of filling your own cup, just as on an airplane, you're instructed to put on your own oxygen mask before assisting others. Self-care is essential. AI understands this. I,
Mhm.
AI gets the computer gets it.
Yeah.
The computer understands that you have to fill yourself first before you can help other people. It says you have to filling your own cup allows you to have something to give. When you're nourished and whole, you have genuine empathy and energy to share with others. Otherwise, what the hell are you trying to give? You got nothing to give. Set healthy boundaries. You learn to recognize you need to prioritize your own needs without guilt or obligation. Okay? Setting boundaries is not evil. Setting boundaries is not being an asshole. It's me taking care of myself first, because when I'm good, I can help you. But if you're constantly, imagine the person out in the ocean trying to grab on I've already got the life raft, homie, but you're trying to pull me under with you. It's like the crabs in the bucket.
Hmm.
Be a more effective helper. Your support will be more sustainable and impactful when it comes from a place of abundance rather than depletion. Remember, taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's essential for being able to truly care for others in a meaningful way. AI gets it.
It's
The
pretty.
freaking machine understands our capacity to help.
That's pretty wild. It definitely kind of lays out the groundwork, right? Is um one of the things about being drawn to alchemy is it's the path of an empath, right? Like we're empathic people, we want to help, but a lot of us have become that person that's pouring in our empty cup into other cups. So that depletes us to a point where we're just like, oh, fuck. And it's one of the things as an empath, somebody that wants to do good, that wants to help others, is we neglect ourselves, and it creates a situation where we are wounded healers, and a wounded healer is not effective. And
No.
you know, if you're a seeker and an empath and somebody who is drawn to alchemy, it's essential that you find some way to heal yourself through art, through writing, through something, some kind of practice, some kind of spiritual practice, which is something I wanted to kind of delve into just a little bit as an alchemist. What I do spiritually every day, I have a routine, I have rituals. In the shower, I have a shower ritual that
Hmm.
is visualization, meditation, where I cleanse my body and my energy centers visually, and I have a visual meditation that I do with water. Is very powerful. It's in one of the elements. Working with the elements is another thing you do as an alchemist. You work with nature, you work with the elements. I have a ritual in the shower that is like a cleansing ritual where I visualize
I would
energy.
go.
And the water, it's easy to meditate and do these types of things in the shower or in the bath or something, because you have a physical element, water, that is assisting your energy. And water is a very powerful energy source. It's literally the source of our life. No life exists without water. So when I'm in the shower, I visualize the energy pouring over my body and cleansing it and cleansing my energy centers. And I do this whole lymphatic cleansing ritual that goes with that. I'm not going to go into detail with that, but it's something that I do every day. Every day I take a shower. I try to shower every day, but some days I don't. But I walk on the grass. I've talked about that before, right? I walk on the grass and I visualize energy coming up through my feet into my body, because that's exactly what's happening, right? Science has acknowledged this, that electrons, your body's actually absorbing electrons from the earth, and it's very healing for you. It's why the Native Americans walked in the earth, they touched the trees, and it's not a hippie thing, right? And this is something I do as well. I touch the trees and I literally suck energy out of the trees, because the tree will give you its energy and it will take your negative energy. It's like a battery,
Freely.
right?
Will
The
freely give
positive,
you energy.
the positive and negative charge, right? And touching the tree and visualization and intention powers the ritual, right? Like if you believe, if you're like, fucking hippie shit, I'll try it, but you don't believe it, it's nothing's gonna happen,
Doesn't have
right?
yeah.
You need to understand that this is real. You need to understand that what the trees have energy. It's like, duh, dummy. Like literally, it takes our carbon dioxide and turns it into oxygen, right? And
Right.
then we take the oxygen and turn it into carbon dioxide. It's a cycle. It's
Symbiotic.
a
Symbiotic.
symbiosis. It's a symbiosis we have with plants. And it does it with energy too. It will take your negative energy and give you its negative energy, which is positive for us. It's the battery, positive, negative charge. This shit literally fucking works. Like, I healed
Yeah.
myself from a torn ACL without surgery, using grounding techniques and touching the trees. This is not bullshit. But I incorporated a visualization where I visualize the energy coming into my hands and into my head, because I'll put my head, my forehead, and my hands on the tree, right? And I visualize in my third eye, close my eyes, I visualize in my third eye the energy coming into my body, and I'll do a ritual where I cleanse each of my chakras and I do a chant. Every chakra has a chant. The root is Lam, the sacral is Vam, the solar plexus is Ram, the heart is Yam, the throat is Ham, the third eye is Om, and then there's debates on the crown. The crown is either silence or Aum, like Aumen. Um, both work, but it's the intention. I talked about intention before, and magic, and how magic is intention. It's the intention
Right,
behind
right,
it. If you approach energy and magic with an intention and a pure heart,
right.
that's white magic. That's the good stuff.
Which goes back to the God, which goes back to that video at the very beginning of this podcast, which is the God within.
God, God is eternal in the body. Or what was it?
I
I don't
forget.
remember what it was.
Yeah, but basically it was talking about the God within.
Yeah, the God within, and God is everything. Is the one consciousness, the eternal consciousness that is behind everything. And if you start to practice these things, if you get, the more you get into a spiritual practice and you have a relationship with Source, with God, with the Creator, whatever you want to call the Creator, the source of all things, you will start to. This is a practice of purification, of purifying your body, and our 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 body is an antenna, right, to receive this information from source. And if you're on the lead path, it bogs your energy down to where you cannot receive it. You don't hear it. You don't feel it.
You don't feel it.
It disconnects your antenna from source, but source is always talking to you. You're a piece of it. Source gave you a piece of itself in your soul, and there's a direct connection between you and source. And the more that you purify yourself, and through however you find, right, like I've kind of synchronistically found my practice. Like I don't my very unique my practice is very unique to me, and something that I've synchronistically been led to by source to connect to it.
Right,
um but everyone's going to be different. But
right.
the
For
point
for B
is,
for B it's art. For B it's art. For me it's mining crypto. Go figure.
yeah,
Go ahead.
everybody's going to have their thing because it's locked to your purpose. It's tied to your purpose. So, but the point is to the intention and the faith and belief that there is something there outside of you, or inside of you, if you really want to get to the brass tacks. It's inside of you, and because the external is an illusion, and science and quantum physics is starting to acknowledge this, that consciousness is not local to the body, and ultimately, if you really get into particles and light and how it all works, and when really at the structure of reality, it's an illusion.
We would
It's
have enough time to get into that right now.
Yeah, it's vibration, and everything is energy, vibration, and frequency. And it's something, your body is a receptor. Your five senses are receptors of frequencies, right? And your body, your eyes, your ears take this stuff in. Your five senses take the stuff into your brain, and your brain constructs reality in here, right? But everything externally to you is not really real, because we're really inside of the soul of the Creator. That's what everything is. And that's real deep. That's real deep. But
Yeah, we'll have to go into that another time.
this is when you're a seeker, this is the stuff that finds you. But yeah, the AI stuff, I want to say, like, all the stuff I said correlated with the AI stuff, but I hadn't read the document. I did not read what Alex was just talking about. Like,
No,
but
that was separate.
that was separate. And but like my experience of filling my cup was very similar to what AI was. The input he put into it, the output from AI was very similar to my own experience, because this is a universal experience throughout anyone who's been awakened, and so AI is gleaning this information and putting it together, right? It's what it's doing. It didn't create that response. It is using its data that it has at its disposal to put together this explanation for what Alex's input was, because this is a universal experience, and this is what we're trying to guide you guys to with this information, with the bread we're baking
Yep.
on this podcast. As alchemists,
Exactly.
we have come to a realization within ourselves of what this is and what we are, and it's
So if
part
you
of
really
our
want,
purpose. What's that?
I was just gonna say, so if you really want to narrow it down, like we're literally pouring out of our cup into yours right now.
Yes, and because our we've been able to fill the cup, right? It's one of the part. It's part of my ritual in the shower is that I end it with breathing into the cup, like I'm blowing into the cup my energy and visualizing the cup overflowing into other cups, right? That's part of like my intention with the ritual is I want to fill my cup with energy so that I can fill other cups, and I have this
Now, don't
visualization.
get it twisted. Don't get
What's that?
it twisted though, because I said don't get it twisted though, because B is still human. He's still in the flesh, and days like yesterday, where shit goes wrong and gets you frustrated, that like we're human. It's
Mhm.
expected, but do not feel like you're falling short. It's like, oh damn it, I couldn't. It's just too hard. I can't do it. It's like, no, no. It's a struggle. It's every day, getting in the shower, every day cleansing yourself off, every day re-pouring into your own cup, and every day pouring out into other people's cups. It's every freaking day.
And
Doesn't matter rain or shine. Like this is what an alchemist does. It doesn't matter how the environment is externally. The energy, the power comes from within the alchemist, not from the outside. We are the source of energy. We tap into
and
source, we bring it out.
the the misunderstanding about the process of enlightenment is like it's not a destination. It's
It's
not
a
something
journey.
that you come to and then all of a sudden you're this glowing white being that's perfect, right? That's an illusion. That's not real. That's not a thing.
Doesn't
Um,
exist.
it's
Doesn't
not real.
exist.
It's bullshit. It's a bullshit lie that you've been told. Enlightenment can happen right now in the moment. Like literally, like if you're watching this podcast and suddenly you have an epiphany, it's like you're already there. That's the thing that you've been disconnected from is that you're already there. You're already it.
Mission
God already
accomplished.
exists. God already exists within you, and it's the realization, but you still having the human experience, even though you're a part of Source and Source is a part of you, right? And this is one of the spiritual things that happen with spiritual psychosis, right? Is when people go through an enlightenment and all of a sudden they think they're God and they think and then they put themselves on a pedestal and they think they're better than people. And
Dogma.
this
Dog.
is a spiritual psychosis that happens where you start to you become to the realization that God is in you, right? And then you think that you're God. And this is what all these cult leaders and some of these people that become very charismatic, like uh people like follow them, right? Um, but it's no, and this is something I need to stress with you guys. If you're on the cusp of this, or if you come to it and you think that you're God, no, you are not God. God is you, and there's a very big distinction between those two things.
Different. Yeah.
It's an ego
Yeah.
thing, right? The ego likes to grab onto the enlightenment, right? And be like, oh yeah, I'm God. I'm better than everybody. And all you plebs are stupid and fucking lost and you need to follow
All
me.
you
I was like, this is something I've said all along. I don't want anyone to follow me. I don't want you to follow me. I don't want you to put me on a pedestal. Like this is something
I
my
do want you
buddy,
to try.
I was talking to a friend of mine, right? And him and I used to work together at this restaurant, and we had another um, guy that worked with us that he was talking to, and this guy was watching my content, and he told my friend Chris, he's like, Chris, is Brandon some kind of prophet or something? It really feels like he's stumbled on something very special, and my reaction to that was, I was flattered. Okay, he thinks I'm a prophet, but like, um, no, I'm not a prophet,
Can't be a prophet in your own.
but yes, I have found something very special, and I'm trying to impart that upon others. No, I'm not a prophet. I don't want you to follow me. I don't want you to put me on a pedestal and be like, "Well, look at this guy. He's a messiah or a prophet or something like that." This is something I made this video when I was at the very beginning of my awakening. It's on my Instagram. It's a 7-part video called The Awakening, right? And in part 2 of it, I I I'm channeling source, right? I'm channeling source through myself, my higher version of me, my higher me. And I said something like, the fools will think I am some kind of prophet or messiah, and the zealots will think I'm the devil. But I'm neither. I'm neither of those things, right? Because I'm not trying to get you to follow me. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm not trying to tell you that I'm Jesus or that I'm God. But I am definitely connected to both, and they're whispering in my ear because they are a part of me. Because I woke up, I purified the temple, and the temple came alive, and it's like yes, I found
which
something
actually goes
very
back to your magic, which is your intention.
my intention. And well, we're all magic. We're all the magic of the
That's what I'm
creator.
saying.
This is what
It,
this is.
all
Like
ties,
everything
it
is
all ties.
magic. You look at
Yes.
go watch some birds or bees or butterflies. I was watching these butterflies today go like land on the flower, and then this little tongue comes out and it's poking at the flower and eating, and it was just like I was just fascinated. It's just a fascinating process. It's magical. This life is magical. Everything about it is magical. There's these spiders here in Georgia called the Joro spider. It's a giant fucking spider, like the size of the palm of my hand. They make these huge webs, and there's this beautiful, huge spider. I'm just fascinated by them because they're magical. It's everything is magic, and we've been beat down by the lead path, by the hamster wheel of life, and we've lost the magic. When we were kids, everything was magical, right? And then at some point, we
Right.
reach maturity. We reach adulthood, and it's magic is bullshit, because and we're sold this Disney version of magic where we think it's a fucking wizard with a wand. He turns a fucking carriage into a
Right.
pumpkin, or a pumpkin into a carriage. It's not magic. That's
Right.
that's bullshit. No, the world is magic. It's God's magic in the whole world, and it's like encoded in reality. The spiral, the mathematics, the quantum physics. It's
The web.
sacred geometry, the key of Solomon, literally all this stuff. Just the Greg Braden quote at the beginning, and Path of the Alchemist, we are we're touching something very special. And what that does, you have to have courage to walk this path, because once you start delving into this stuff, you become dangerous, become very dangerous to the establishment, because they have done a lot of work to keep you from finding this stuff out, to keep the truth from you.
Yep.
And Alex and I
Facts.
are standing in a place where we know where we're going. We know what our purpose is on this planet, and that makes us very dangerous. And so you have to step onto this path of alchemy with a lot of courage, because people are going to call you crazy. People are going to um, call you evil. Your friends and family are probably going to call you evil. They're going to think you're some kind of evil
For the devil,
wizard. They're going to think you're the devil.
a
Um,
warlock.
yeah. But the truth of the matter is, this is the true path. And we're trying to light that way for you. We're trying to shine the light on that true path as alchemists, to get you guys to understand, like, the world is in a great state of shift right now. There's a lot of really crazy shit happening. We all know this. We all feel it. We are talking about this in the past with episodes with the election coming up, and the energy of the cosmos with Uranus and Pluto and Neptune. We detail that on the
Yeah.
astrology episode. There's a lot of crazy energy happening right now. We're at this time of shift, where we're
Tomorrow,
cycling.
tomorrow's the 10-10 portal.
It's a what? The 1010. Yeah,
Tomorrow's
1010.
the 10-10 portal.
Yeah, this stuff's all relevant. These numbers are relevant. It's all relevant. And just look into this stuff, and be a seeker. Be a seeker. Be curious. And because if you stumbled upon this podcast, you're already got at least 1 foot in the seeker world.
Yep. That
And
algorithm isn't going to pop us into your feed if you're not looking.
no, and if you haven't stumbled upon some of this information that we're talking about, look into it. It's
Or
out
reach
there
out
on
now.
YouTube now. You can look through it. You can go back and watch it again. Oh, what was he talking about? There's plenty.
Yeah.
It's going to be out there forever now. We're putting it out there for you. We're putting
Or you could
ourselves.
reach out. You could also reach. Mhm.
Yeah, reach out to us.
I was just
Engage,
gonna say you could
engage,
also reach out and send us a comment.
engage on YouTube. Engage with us on Instagram. All of our information is below. Engage with us. Like, ask us questions. I am happy to. I don't get a lot of engagement on my social media. I put out my art and my poetry and my podcasts, and I met with mostly radio silence and crickets. But I know from watching my stories that there's a few dozen of you at least that watch very diligently, but you never ask questions. I'm urging you, ask fucking questions because I am here for you as a resource. That is what my purpose is, to help you. And if you're curious about these things, I am an open book. I will literally talk to you for hours about things. And that's why
He will.
we are doing
He will.
this. You know? Me and Alex are willingly putting ourselves on the front line, in the line of fire. And as this podcast grows, because it will, as this podcast grows, as Alex's platform becomes online and we start to become major players on the scene, which is what is going to happen, um, we are putting ourselves out there in danger. We are becoming dangerous men. I fully intend to be one of the most dangerous men in the world because of the knowledge that I hold and because of the things that I'm willing to do to encourage and empower and enlighten the masses. This is my purpose. This is why I am here. And I want you to walk beside me, brother. I don't want you to put me on a pedestal and worship me and say, oh, he's enlightened. Let's follow him. No, empower yourself and walk beside me, brother, and we can change the world. 100%.
Beautifully said. Yeah, I think this concludes the message for today. Just letting you all know that if you want to participate, if you want to really do the work, it starts with yourself. You have to fill your own cup in order for you to be able to participate and help others in their journey. It's okay to isolate yourself. It's okay to um to 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 create boundaries so that you have an opportunity to learn who you are independent of your peers, because I think that there's been an effort to try and blur those lines of identity, so we no longer know how to identify as our own selves. And I think this is what the media is doing, and social media and just social dynamics in general, and setting expectations. So I definitely recommend you know taking some time, go out to nature on your own, and like you know seek seek what makes you happy. Like, find things that you're comfortable doing by yourself. Like, don't seek approval of others and things. Seek self-approval. Like, are you happy with what you're doing by yourself? Like, if you had to do this by yourself the rest of your life, would you be okay doing it? And most likely, when you find that thing, then you can start seeking others, because you're like, you know what, at the end of the day, I identify as this one thing, and if no one else in my life ever comes in, at least I know who the fuck I am and what I'm capable of.
100%,
And
man.
if you get that done, I think you'll accomplish a lot.
It can be a lonely
Go
path.
ahead.
It can be a very lonely path. And it is going to require you to step out of the um, things that hold you back physically. Like, and society is going to keep trying to draw you back to the lead path. But if you want to become golden, you have to leave the lead behind. And it's an apt metaphor, lead, because lead is very heavy and burdensome. It's a very heavy and burdensome metal, and it's common.
Right. It's a
And
burden.
and you have to be willing to step out of what's common to become dangerous. And we're kind of losing connection, so let's kind of leave it there. I'm going to leave you guys with a great quote from Osho about wise men,
Love
and
you.
what a wise man is. And until next time, don't be afraid to be dangerous and to step out of the lead path and step into the path of gold. We love you. We want you to be empowered. Find your authentic self. Fuck what anybody else says. Love you.
No society wants you to become wise. It is against the investment of all societies. If people are wise, they cannot be exploited. If they are intelligent, they cannot be subjugated. They cannot be forced in a mechanical life to live like robots. They will assert their individuality. They will have the fragrance of rebellion around them. They would like to live in freedom. Freedom comes with wisdom, and no society wants people to be free. The communist society, the fascist society, the capitalist society, the Hindu, the Mohammedan, the Christian, no society would like people to use their own intelligence. Because the moment they start using their intelligence, they become dangerous. Dangerous to the establishment, dangerous to the people who are in power, dangerous to the haves, dangerous to all kinds of oppression, exploitation, suppression, dangerous to the churches, dangerous to the states. In fact, a wise man is a fire, alive, a flame. He would like rather to die than to be enslaved.